There's a runway out there, and I'm about to land on it. You guys wanna learn how to land an Airbus A320? Let's get right into it. Hello ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome on board Waypoint's Aviation. We're back in our Airbus A320, back in Dubai, and going to do a tutorial for you today. Today's tutorial is going to be about landing and how do you land the Airbus A320. How do you flare? When do you flare? How much do you flare? What is flare? Everything that I could possibly tell you, I'm going to explain it to you today. So as we all know, the Airbus A320, it's a fly-by-wire aircraft, all right? Which means that when you change the attitude of the aircraft, when you go nose up or nose down, or you bank the aircraft actually trims. You see these guys moving all the time. These are the THS, these are the trim wheels, and basically they're connected to the THS, the trimmable horizontal stabilizers. They're located at the back of the aircraft. They're the two small wings you see at the back of the aircraft essentially. And on the THS, at the back of the THS, is where you find the elevators, which will control the up and down movement of the aircraft. Now the goal of the trimmable horizontal stabilizer, or THS, is to stabilize the aircraft and trim it at the current attitude that it's flying. All right, so for example, right now, if I go to track FPA and I command a nose up, let's just say I'm going to go up to 3000, and I command a nose up. So right now we're trimmed for about 2.5 degrees or almost 5 degrees of nose up. All right, now if I command a nose up of 3 degrees, all right, you can see we're going to go up 3 degrees, and look at the THS. You're going to see them move to trim the stabilizer. As they move, basically they're trimming the aircraft, physically moving the entire THS to match that angle. All right, same thing if I was to command a nose down angle. Let's say I'm gonna go steep. I'm gonna go minus 4.5. Look at them move. As the aircraft changes its attitude, the THS is moving as well. All right, so it's comfortable to say that the aircraft is basically going to take care of you in terms of the trimming, which is one of the best things about the Airbus, right? It auto trims. Now when it comes to landing, things change. All right, we're gonna start with what happens at 50 feet. All right, at 50 feet the THS, the auto trim, stops auto trimming. Basically what it does is it goes into a mode where it memorizes the last known position that the aircraft was trimmed to at 50 feet. All right, and it will lock that position, and from that point on, from 50 feet onwards, what's happening is when you pull on the side stick, you're no longer governed by the fly-by-wire system, which means like in normal fly-by-wire mode, the aircraft tries to control G load, which means when I pull on the stick or I push on the stick, the aircraft is basically taking those inputs, it's editing it, and then it's basically then sending it to the flight controls, you know, just to make sure I don't give too much or too little. But at 50 feet, once the THS basically locks itself, the side stick goes into more like a direct law mode, which means the amount I pull, it's a direct relation between side stick and elevator. All right, so the amount I pull is the amount I get, with no fly-by-wire interference in between. I hope that makes sense, right? So from 50 feet, whatever you pull a little bit, you're gonna get a little bit. Whoops, just knocked off the autopilot. Because you pull a little bit, you get a little bit. You pull a lot, you get a lot. That's basically how that works. All right, so let me get the autopilot back on. So and that's basically what we use and what we need when we need to flare the aircraft effectively. All right, so given that at 50 feet, now you have a direct relation between the side stick and the elevators. After that, we go down to 30 feet. Now at 30 feet, the aircraft actually tries to lower the nose. All right, you can actually see it happening. When you reach 30 feet, the aircraft, whatever angle, you'll probably be at 5 degrees nose up, you'll probably be at 2.5 or 3 degrees nose up. The aircraft will actually nose down over 8 seconds. All right, so the aircraft is going to go from wherever it is, that nice little nose up angle, and in 8 seconds it's going to keep dropping the nose. And it does that to encourage the pilots to flare a little bit more on the side stick, so that you can arrest the descent and have more control, and basically, you know, have basically full control over the descent and landing of the aircraft. So that's basically how the aircraft behaves. All right, and I'm going to show you this in demonstration right now. Okay, so I'm basically making my way back towards the runway. I've fully configured the aircraft. We're pretty much ready. We're flaps full, spoilers on, gears down, and the aircraft is pretty much fully ready. I'm just going to tell it to capture the glide slope when it comes in, and the localizer. And once it does that, we're going to basically disconnect the autopilot, and then I'm going to show you how the aircraft is behaving when I'm coming close to the ground. Okay, now for consideration of the weather, we've got a slight crosswind today. The winds are coming out of 175, but they're very light. They're just 4 knots, so that's okay. All right, now given that the aircraft is fully configured, you can see that flying straight and level gives us about 5 degrees of nose up. All right, that's the angle of attack we're flying at, to maintain straight and level flight with full configuration. Now keep an eye on that as we get closer to the runway. All right, so I'll get back to you guys when I get closer to the runway, and see you then. All right guys, so basically there's our runway. We're fully established on the ILS for runway 12 right. I'm going to disconnect the autopilot now. All right, and I'm basically just going to maintain the flight directors, okay, as accurately as I can. I'm just going to give a very little input just to maintain the glide slope and the localizer. The winds are shifting slightly, so I might need to give a little bit of side stick, but as you can see, very little is required because the aircraft is still trimming for me. All right, we've gone into land mode, so the aircraft is now seriously starting to think about the landing. And as I change the attitude, the auto trim is still moving. All right, you can see it's still moving. Now watch what happens when we get to 50 feet. All right, minimum at 50 feet. Okay, minimums, we're going to continue slightly to the side, a small adjustment. Now I'm going to keep the aircraft here. Okay, 50 feet. 50. All right, now look, at 30 feet, it actually nosed down and became a little bit hard on the runway. So you saw that the aircraft actually dropped the nose, and it was going to continue to do so over a period of 8 seconds. Now I should have flared on the aircraft, but I didn't, because I just want to show you the dip. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull back on the side stick, take the aircraft back up into the air, and I'm going to give us about flaps 3, gonna go toga and engage the toga. And then I'm going to bring you back in, and I'm going to show you how we're going to do this landing. All right, we can even go for flaps 1 now, and I'm literally going to roll the aircraft to its side. I'm going to pull the head in. I'm going to stop our climb at 2,000 feet, and I'm going to roll us over to 300 downwind and take us out and bring us back in again. So there's 300, and the aircraft is nice and steady. I'm going to activate the approach phase so the aircraft stays in at least green dot mode. Oh, actually in flaps 1, and we're gonna come back, and now I'm gonna show you how we flare and how we get the aircraft gently on the ground. So again, to recap, 50 feet, the trimmable horizontal stabilizer stops working, which means your relation between the side stick and the elevators is direct. How much you pull is how much it deflects the elevators. All right. And at 30 feet, the aircraft is going to want to nose down by itself, and you have to override it by pulling back on the side stick. All right, so now we're basically just gonna try and get that we're gonna we're gonna get back to the airport and I'm gonna line her up, and then we're going to try this landing one more time. Okay, so let me get back to you once we're there. Alright guys, I'm back again. I'm established on the localizer and the glide slope. I'm heading straight for the runway, and as you can see, I'm just making small adjustments on my side stick to make sure that I'm maintaining that flight director so I can maintain my localizer and glide slope. Alright, everything's looking good. We're maintaining about 2.5 degrees. Now, generally in full configuration, the aircraft should maintain about 2.5 degrees nose up. So as you come closer to the runway, you already have a nose up angle. Alright, so all you have to do then is, once you get to 50 feet, you basically start to bring the nose up just a little bit more to reduce the rate of descent. So currently I'm descending about 700 to 800 feet a minute. Now as I get past my minimums and I start to just get the aircraft closer to the runway, now what I want to do is, I basically, once I get to 50, I'm going to listen for the 50. I'm going to start nosing up a little bit, maybe to about 5 degrees. Alright? And I'm going to go idle power as I hold retard, and I'm just going to pull and hold, pull and release until I get to 5 degrees. There you go. Nicely greased it on the runway, a little bit of left rudder just to point it back towards the middle. And there we go. The aircraft has now landed. And as you can see, that was a gentle landing. And all I had to do was just a little bit of pull just to keep the aircraft nice and steady. Now I'm just gonna go for toga. The aircraft is not gonna like this, but yeah, I'm just gonna take off again. All right, relax. I'm just gonna take off again, see if I can get it. Yep, there's 100 knots. Flaps are coming to 1 now, and at about 140 I think I can rotate again. Here we go. Let me see if I can get this done. Alright, V1, rotate. Here comes the end of the runway. Getting it off the runway. There we go. Pulling back. And now the aircraft is basically back in its G-load mode. Fly-by-wire is working for me. And basically I just want to turn to a downwind of 300 again. So I'm just going to pull. I'm going to make it 300. Or rather 299 to be more specific. Align that with the flight directors, pause the rate, gear up. I'm gonna stop my climb at about 1600. I'm just gonna circuit around the airport and try and come back in and activate the approach phase as well, so the aircraft stays at flaps 1. So guys, that was how I did my landing. Now, given that that you just have to pull a little bit because you already have a nose up angle, all right? So just literally pull release on the side stick, and that's all you have to do, guys. You do not need to pull and hold, because if you pull and hold, it's going to take it as a command, and look at that, the aircraft is just going to keep nosing up. So you always want to give release. If you've ever watched an Airbus video, stand by. All right, if you ever watch an Airbus video where you can see the side stick of the pilot, you can always see he gives the input, comes back to center, gives the input, comes back to center. That's how we fly the Airbus, all right? And when you're in the flare, you never pull and hold, because if you pull and hold, that's constant input into the elevator. So the aircraft is going to want to continue nosing up, and that might cause you to balloon over the runway and maybe lose your runway, or just botch up the landing basically. So always remember, you can see how I'm working my side stick to maintain the flight directors. Literally give release. I push it, I let it come back to the center. I push it, I let it come back to the center. And once I'm where I want to be, I know the auto trim is working for me, so I can just leave it now. Hands are off, and the aircraft is trimmed and maintaining that trim for me. All right? So that's basically how we use the side stick and how we work the side stick, guys. Very little input, quick, gentle inputs to get the aircraft to where you want it to be. And once you get there, don't give any more input. Let the auto trim do its work and help you out. That's what it was designed to do. All right, let's get the landing gear down, flaps. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you. So the flaps full basically gives you a nice gentle rotation. Don't have to rotate too much. and the aircraft comes in very nicely for a landing. Now what if now in the Airbus we can do a flaps 3 landing as well. All right, so I'm going to tell the computer I want to land using flaps 3. So I'm going to see config 3 over here, then I'm going to come back up here and I'm going to choose flaps 3 on the landing. I turned these two guys off because I didn't want any warnings. All right, generally in real life we're going to keep those on. Flaps 3 landing selected. Okay, all right, so now we're going to do a flaps 3 landing. As you can see, GPW is flap 3. All right, so now we're just gonna start a nice little gentle turn back towards the airport. Mind my side stick. Look what I'm doing on my side stick. I'm giving very little input. I want to go to a heading of about 075. Gonna roll it over. I'm gonna go flaps 2 now. Landing gear's already down, ground spoilers are armed. All right, and a flap 3 landing is going to give us, we might need to pull a little bit more for a flap 3 landing. And why would we do a flap 3 landing? Because basically in some airlines actually prefer a flap 3 landing because number one, it reduces the amount of drag on the aircraft, so that saves fuel. Number two, it's less noisier because the engines are not going to be throttled up to maintain power for flaps full. They'll be throttled up for flaps 3 only. So some airports prefer it as a noise abatement procedure, but generally mostly airlines that follow a low-cost model like to use a flaps 3 landing because it's more economical. All right, now as I come in for flaps 3, all right, here I am now. I've got glide slope star. I'm just gonna give a little bit of input just to get me on that glide slope, capture that localizer, line it up nicely with the runway. As you can see, nice little inputs just to keep the aircraft where I want it to be. All right, now pretty much I am where I want to be. I'm just going to give a little bit more nose up. All right, we got localizer. We're going to catch the glide slope pretty soon as well as it comes in. There's our runway straight ahead. All right, lights are on, everything's ready. Come on, glide slope star, give me glide slope, please. All right, I'm just gonna get the nose up a little bit, catch that glide slope, and then once it comes back in, here we go, here comes the glide slope. Boom, we got the glide slope. Now we're just gonna follow the glide slope down, which is about 3 degrees descent in Dubai, which equals to about 740 to 800 feet per minute. Coming in now, we are flaps 3 and fully configured for landing. All right, we got the landing memo, landing no blue, all good. Now watch, with the flaps 3 landing, because the flaps help you to maintain a nose down, more flap allows you to fly at a slower speed with a more lowered angle of attack, so that you can see. All right, flaps 3, look at flaps 3, the difference between flaps 3 and flaps full. Flaps 3, I have to have a higher angle of attack, all right, to maintain this descent. Because I've got less flap, my nose is obviously going to be a little bit higher. Now as I come closer to the runway, waiting first for that 50 feet, all right, 200. All right, we're going to keep it there, following the pappies now, looking to the end of the runway, following the pappies, nice and steady, keeping the end of the runway in my line of sight, 100 feet left, and now, here we go. 50 feet, I'm gonna pull a little bit, little flare, little bit more, just to hold that, and now I'm basically 5 feet, retard, kill the power, start giving rudders, maintain control with the rudders. Remember, the side stick does not do anything for you once you touch down. Now I'm just maintaining center line with the rudders, and basically we're good to go. I'm gonna go back to flaps 1 and basically give it full power and get the aircraft going back up in the air. Here we go. So guys, that's basically how you do a landing, and this is not how you use the rudders on a runway, so forgive me, I'm a little all over the place. Here we go, nicely maintaining that bit of a crosswind. All right, we want rotate just before the end of the runway. Don't try this in real life, guys. This is I wouldn't do this in real life either. All right, airborne, positive rate, gear up, gonna pull the head in, maintain runway heading for now, gonna climb to another 1600 and go around as well. There we go, and I'm gonna give myself 299 once more, activate our approach phase, and just keep it there. Alright guys, so that's basically how you fly your Airbus A320, or rather how you land the Airbus A320. Gonna get the autopilot on. So remember, when I cannot tell you how much to pull and how much not to pull, alright? Because each landing is different every single time, alright? The weather, and it depends on a number of factors. It could depend on the weather, it could depend on the crosswinds, it can depend on the airport elevation, the configuration of the aircraft. Are you heavy? Are you light? You know, so many aspects have to be taken into consideration before you can, you know, decide on landing. But generally speaking, all you have to do is flare enough that the vertical speed does not level out. All right, because if the vertical speed levels out, that means you are now going to be floating over the runway. You're not going to be descending. So what I like to do is I give just a little bit of, just like I showed you earlier, pull release, just to keep the aircraft at about, in my configuration today, the magic number was 5 degrees, or somewhere between 5 and 7.5 degrees. That was the sweet spot for me to be able to flare the aircraft to where the vertical speed was just slightly below, so I'm descending nice and gently down to the runway. All right, so guys, I hope you found this one useful. If you got any more questions, let me know in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer you. And if you like the video, hit that thumbs up button. For those of you who are not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one, guys. God bless you, and bye bye.
Hi, do you live in Dubai, or are you in the United Arab Emirates? Are you an aviation enthusiast? Do you play flight simulator on your computer at home? Would you like to have the ultimate experience of flying an Airbus A320 in a real cockpit environment? Or are you a real-world pilot and you're looking to practice for an upcoming airline assessment? Or do you just want to master the Airbus aircraft? Are you a pilot looking to level up your knowledge and experience in instruments and navigation? Or maybe you're thinking of becoming a pilot in the future, but you're not yet sure if this is the path for you. Well, whatever your requirements may be, we're here for you. Book a session in our Airbus A320 flight simulator and come experience flying with a real-world pilot by your side as your instructor, guiding you along every step of the way. All ages are invited. Just scan the QR code or contact us via the details below for more information. See you guys in the cockpit soon.